This isn't something that's going to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would be financially independent. If it's easy, everybody would be doing it. You just got to know that there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who have done this and are financially independent. So why not you? Some people out there have done this when they had absolutely nothing in their name. They started this process and now they're financially independent. So if they can do it, why not you? It's going to take time. It's going to take discipline. But what else is going to happen? Frank said you're going to aim for the moon and fall on the stars. You're going to have the most money you ever saved. You're going to have a plan to get out of debt. You're going to have everything in order to become financially bulletproof. That's the worst thing that's going to happen.
Eric, you know, a lot of people are going to be setting, obviously, New Year's resolutions. And I think in today's time, for many people, they're going to have resolutions around their money, their finances. You've had the opportunity over the past decade plus to work with, I'm assuming, thousands of people at this point. What is the biggest limiting belief that people hold that keeps them from actually achieving their financial goals?
Man, that's a great question, Frank. When I sit down with people and I realize and I ask them, what's your goals for 2024 or the year coming up? The limiting belief that they have is, man, they're just up to their eyeballs in debt. How do I get out of this debt? How do I get out of this freedom? How do I get these chains taken off of me? And it's a simple answer every time, man, is you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. It's something that if you don't have a plan, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Right. And so it's just like the gym, man. If you go to the gym and you're trying to get better, you're trying to get fit, and you have no plan going in there, you're just going to be wandering around the gym doing nothing. Right. And so that's the number one thing is, man, I am just caught up to my eyeballs in student loan debt and my mortgage, and credit card debts. Because let's be honest, man, everything is going up. The cost of living is going up. The cost of gas is going up. Cost of milk is going up. But the only thing that's staying the same is our salaries. So if everything is going up and our salaries are staying the same, this void, in order to get fixed, is debt, man. I got to go get a credit card. I got to go get a loan. I got to go get this. And debt is the easiest thing to get into, but the hardest thing to get out of. Right. And so that's the number one thing, bro. That is the number one thing.
Yeah, so they look at their financial situation, and I think you use a really powerful word there. They feel almost trapped, or they feel shackled to this debt. Like there's no way out of this. If somebody is hearing this right now, that's a really good, powerful insight there. If somebody is hearing this and they're like, Eric hit it right on the head with me, what's the first step somebody should take if they're drowning in debt? Like, what would you recommend here? Obviously, we're going to get into the pillars. We're going to talk about your dime method. We can point people back to the previous episode. But staying with just this conversation here right now, if somebody's feeling that they're shackled and there's just no way out of this debt, what would you advise is the first thing that somebody does?
You get a pen and you get a sheet of paper and you write down all your debts. Write them all individually. And to be honest with you, Frank, it's never as good as it seems and it's never as bad as it seems. Right. And so you got to write them all out, bro. This is my debt. This is how much I owe. This is how much I'm paying. Here's the interest rate. Next debt. This is what I owe. This is the amount that I'm paying. Here's the interest rate. And when you have them all listed out, get with a financial professional. Get with, I know Frank's going to put some information on the, below link or whatever it may be. But get with somebody who can orchestrate a plan to get you out of debt as soon as possible. Because the faster you get out of this debt, the more you can start saving for yourself, the more you can start saving for your kids and building a legacy. Because right now, be honest with you, man, you're just building somebody else's legacy with that debt. You're building Visas, you're building MasterCards, you're building the Penny Mac, the student loans, right? So if the faster you get out of owing other people, the more they contribute to your future and your legacy, for sure.
Yeah. Can you speak to that a little bit? I mean, these banks, these companies, Visa, Capital One, American Express, like they make more money the more debt that you're in. How can people begin to recognize like that, hey, maybe the bank, maybe the credit card companies aren't our friends? Like speak to that a little bit if you can.
They understand interest. Interest is not a bad thing. You can either have interest working for you or working against you. So these credit cards, right, they have 25, 26, 28, I even seen 30% interest rates on them. And that's just for them. That's just for the consumer. I mean, that's for the credit card companies. That's for the financial institutions that they're getting off of you. In the market right now, we'll be happy if we get 8%, 9%, 10%. Those are good returns. And now these credit card companies are getting 28, 29, 30% off of us and our legacy and our wealth. Man, these guys are not our friends It's good to have a plan to eliminate your debt to build your credit, right? But it's not good to stay in debt for the rest of your life. That's number one, man. You got to have a serious plan on how, not only when you're done paying off those debts, not only just to celebrate, but to reallocate those funds that you used to paying towards that towards your investments.
Yeah, and guys, that's a lot of what we're speaking to here. If you want more of these tactical stuff, episode 79, which I'm going to link down there in the show notes for everybody. We had Eric on a few years back, and we kind of talked about these pillars and kind of like this debt snowballing. I know that's kind of Ramsey's language, but I think you kind of advocate a very similar thing, right? When you're looking at your debt, you want to pay off the quickest, like the one that you can pay off the quickest first, right? Kind of walk us through the process of maybe how you would coach somebody to eliminate. They got student loan debts, they got credit card debts, they got the car bill. They got, they've been financing the furniture from Rooms to Go. They got, the Home Depot bill because they got the gas grill on the patio. They probably couldn't afford at the time, but they got 12 months, 0 interest. So break down kind of how you would coach somebody like, I'm drowning at 30K in debt across all these multiple things. What would you advise we take in terms of an actual plan there?
Absolutely. So the first thing is write down all your debts and figure out what debt is the one that you can pay off the fastest first, right? And so once you pay that off, pay the minimums and everything else, and allocate all those extra funds that you're used to paying to all those other debts just to one fund, just to one card, right? So this extra $15 that you're paying towards this debt, this extra 20, this extra 40, just do minimums, and then take that extra payment that you used to paying towards it and dedicate laser focus on eliminating one debt at a time. And once you eliminate that first debt, whatever you're paying for that first debt, stack it on the next debt, right? Keep paying the minimums and everything else. That second debt's going to get paid off a lot faster. Once you're done with that, take that lump sum, stack it onto the next one, right? And doing it that way, you're going to get out of debt years sooner than projected, right? And you're not adding any more towards your debt as well, too. You're just putting a plan together and getting out of debt a lot faster that way.
This is probably something that at the beginning it feels like it's happening slow because you're making a lot of minimums and you have that one that you're trying to get done the quickest. But I'm assuming in time that compounding effect takes place, right? So it's like by the time you're on the third, the fourth card, you're paying off that fifth bill there. It's like now you've stacked all of those other payments on top of that. So you notice it starts quickly and then over time, because it compounds, like you start noticing the debt falling off quicker and quicker and quicker.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we usually lose people on the first payment. Like, hey, after they start focusing on the first payment and they're taking forever, like, man, this thing isn't working. I'm going to go back to my bad habits. And then we lose them. But if you get past the third debt, right? The power of number three, you get past the third debt, it becomes a habit. It becomes addicting, right? And now you start focusing in on, man, do I really want that gas grill, like you said? Or do I want to pay off these next 4, 5, 6 payments? Let me just take this extra money and put it out in this debt plan as well, too, right? And it becomes a game. And that's what you want, man. You want this debt to get eliminated as fast as possible. And you're going to hear a lot of people say, man, debt is good. Debt is great. Yeah. You know what's better than debt? No debt, right? Having no debt, having money saved up, stackable income, right? Having, at the end of the month, you make $5,000 and not owing anything to anybody. It's a beautiful and powerful situation to be in, right? And so in order to get there, again, it's going to take time. And like Frank said, man, the first card is going to take forever. It's going to feel like it's going to take forever. Maybe a year, maybe 18 months. But after that, man, it's going to start liquidating as fast as possible. It's going to start, diminishing your debt as fast as possible. But you got to stay consistent and you got to stay disciplined in anything you do in order to reach your goal.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean the parallels with success, in the principles, they're universal, man. And hearing you say that, you lose most people on that first month, on that first card payoff. It's like, okay, thinking back in my time in fitness, right? Where do most people fail in their fitness journey? They fail because they don't see those immediate results. I don't look the way that I wanted to after going to the gym for a week, or I've stuck with a diet for 30 days and I'm still holding 20 pounds. It's like, brother, what you have to understand is you have to allow these things to compound and stack up. 6 months down the road, you're going to wake up one day and things are just now, like you said, they become habitual. It becomes a part of who you are. Like this becomes just innate and this is how we live our life. So I love that we started here. So the opening question, Eric, was what's the biggest limiting belief that keeps people from accomplishing their goals? What's the one core mindset belief that somebody that you've seen that wins in the finance game, that wins at not just paying off the debt, but then going on to create financial freedom, to create generational wealth. What's the mindset that this person holds that everybody else doesn't have?
Yeah, man. They live in the future. They live in the future. They live as if they already know what their 6 year, 7 year, 10 year is supposed to look like. And they live like that. They live, hey, listen, in order for me to be like that, I can't be spending money in the now. I can't be buying things that aren't of value, right? I can't be buying cars that are going to put me in debt. I can't be buying clothes that are, are too expensive, are out of my my budget, right? And they live in the future. They live in the and they from that. I heard a great saying, man. You got to pull yourself from the future. So you got to act as if you're 10 years older right now, and you're pulling yourself to that 10-year mark, and your 10-year-old self, or your 10-year old, future self. What is he saying to you? He's probably saying, bro, you really don't need that car. You really don't need this. You really don't need that. Maybe you should focus in on paying this off, or investing here and investing elsewhere. Chances are, man, our self right now, where we are right now, we would love to have a conversation with our 10-year-old self in the past, and you probably redirect where you are right now in life, whether it's good or bad, right? But you sometimes we wish that we can talk to ourselves 10 years back and say, man, this isn't where this is what you should be doing. This is how you should be living. This is how you should be eating. This is how you should be working out, right? And so that's what I've realized. People who are advancing faster than most, they are living in the future, man. They are living in, where they want to be in 10 years. And they know for some reason that what they're purchasing now isn't something that's going to help them get to their goals and dreams, And so, yeah, and they use that for, from listening to people who've gone through it, man. I think, there are books out there, there's audios out there that are written by people who've experienced and overcome situations that we're trying to overcome. So we need to be listening to these podcasts. We need to be listening to these books so that we can better our generation, our next generation, right, and our kids as well too. So
I love that, man. What's the saying there? We use money we don't have to buy things we don't need to impress people we
we
don't
don't
like,
like.
right?
So
And it's like
true.
if you could instead of doing things for the acceptance of other people, begin to live your life in the acceptance of the 10-year version future of yourself. You familiar with the Solomon paradox?
What is that?
So it's this concept that we are better. Solomon, right? King Solomon, wrote the book of Proverbs, obviously one of the wisest, richest man of all time. If you see the end of his life, though, like he really kind of fell off. He didn't live a great end of his life. He had everything. He was, on God's heart, like just all of these great things. But his life towards the end of it was just disastrous. Well, we point to him as this source of true wisdom, but the man couldn't coach and counsel himself. And the Solomon paradox is that it's a concept or belief that we are better at giving advice to others than we are at giving advice to ourselves. I mean, most people know how to get in shape and they'll tell other people what to do. Most people know how to save money and they'll tell other people what to do. Most people know how to get a great relationship and keep it and they'll tell other people what to do. But when they look at their life, it's like their life is in shambles, right? So if we could begin to actually maybe have conversations, there's a great content creator out there, Alex Hormozy. A lot of the audience is probably going to be familiar with Alex. He talks about this practice that he has where he literally opens up a Word document and has a conversation with the 85-year-old version of himself. He'll say, hey, Alex of 85-year-old version, I'm struggling with this right now. What do you think is the best piece of advice? And he'll go back and forth. And this is kind of like becomes one of his biggest mentors. And I think it's speaking so true to what we're talking about here. Begin to live in the future. Begin to look back from the future at what you're doing today. Is this the best decision? Is buying the gas grill going to set me up for 10 years down the road? Or can I get a George Foreman? You know what I mean? It's like these little kind of things, but it's us, like you said, thinking into the future. I talk a lot about the men that we work with, right? We need to have a vision for our life that we can live without pornography. So once again, all these principles of success are universal. What's going to help you in finances, going to help you in your fitness, going to help you in your recovery. It's going to help you in your faith. It's going to help you in your family across the board.
It's really funny you say that, Frank, because my dad, growing up every New Year's, man, you brought me back, man. You brought me back to when I was a teenager. Every New Year, he'll sit us down on the 30th of December, and he was like, okay, we're big on goals. In our family, we do goals for everything, man. We love goals. We love achieving our goals. And it was because of this conversation that he had with us. He would sit down with us and say, okay, Eric, I need you to write a letter to yourself for December of the next year. And I need you to title it like this: My name is Eric Ortiz. It is December 30th, 2000, the next year, 2000, in this case, 2024. I am currently, this size, when I was working out, I'm trying to hit, I'm currently at this size. I am running this amount. I'm, all the goals that we have. And to this day, we do that. And we say, today, my name is Eric Ortiz. This is 2000, December 30th, 2024. I am completely debt free. I have $1 million saved up. I have kids' education for all my children. They're all saving at least $40 a month. Now they have 50,000 in their name, like specific goals for each person and each thing, and talking to yourself in the next year, right? And so December 2023 or 2024 comes out, we get that letter, we read it, and it's surprising to know that most of the time you've accomplished 80 to 90% of the goals on there, right? But the key is he would have us put that letter on our bathroom window growing up. So anytime we go to the bathroom, whatever, it's right there, and we're looking at it, and then throughout the year, it's crazy to think at the end of the year, like I said, 80 to 90% of the goals that we've written out have been accomplished, right? And so that has been something that we've done, and I'm going to start instilling it to my kids right now because they're 5, 2, and 1. But when they get a little bit older, we're going to put that together as well too. So yeah, man, you got to have them. Got to have them.
I love that. And I think, the key there is you're writing it as if it's happened, right? That makes it tangible, and that makes it's real. You talked at the beginning here about what keeps people from failing. It's like not having a plan. Well, there's your plan, right? If you know exactly in a year from now where I'm going to be, not where I want to be, where I am going to be. And then I think it's so crucial that you saw it every single day. Most people, they'll write something down on January 1st, they'll put it in a notebook, and they'll just store it away. And then, maybe they'll look at it in April after they've already given up on the plan. Maybe they don't even ever look at it again until they pull the journal out to write the next year's plan down, right? They're like, holy shit, I said I wanted to do that. Why didn't I accomplish any of it? But having it smack dab in the middle of the face every single day. I talk a lot about the reticular activating system. This is the part of our brain that shows us what we tell it to be important. Well, if every day I'm looking at where my finances are going to be 12 months from now, that's me telling my brain, my subconscious, that is important. So my brain is going to work and operate when I'm not even aware of it to bring those things into existence. Who do I need to know? What opportunities do I need to explore? Who do I need to have on my team over here? What job do I maybe need to start? What side hustle do I need to get going? What things in the basement or in the garage do I need to sell? You'll begin to look and figure these things out just subconsciously because you're telling your brain every single day, hey, this is where we're going to be in 12 months from now. We better make it happen. Dude, I love that, man. I love that so much.
That's so cool, man. And the best part of it was when friends came over and they saw it, they're like, dude, this guy has direction. This guy has goals, I got to start doing this, and we have some buddies that we've grown up with that they're starting to do with their kids now, so it's awesome, man. I would say try it. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? That you accomplish 40, 50% of the goals you put on there?
A lot further, you'll be a lot further away than where you are if you accomplish none of them, man. What is it? You aim for the moon, you end up in the stars or something like that, right? So I love that, man. You talked about, obviously you got a couple little boys, man. I love your kids. I get a chance to see you guys pretty regularly on Sundays. You mentioned that these are things you're going to start doing with them, man. So got a lot of fathers, a lot of parents listening to this. At what age do you think is the right time to start having conversations about finances with kids?
I think 4, 5 years old, having them have their own bank account, not bank account at the bank, but like a little piggy bank at the house, and you just give them money, man. When they go do something great, clean their room, pick up their shoes, give them a quarter, give them 2 quarters, and you tell them, go put it in your bank, 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 and make it a repetitive situation where when they see money, they don't think about spending it immediately. I got to go spend. They think about, hey, I got to take this money and let me go save it. Let me go save it. Let me go save it. Right. I know my son, Roman, it's so funny, man. He wants to buy, he doesn't want to buy anything now. He just wants to save money, so he'll tell us, hey, I'm picking up my clothes, can I get a quarter? Can I get, $1? And we would say, yeah, bro, I mean, go ahead. We'll give you a quarter. And he'll take that quarter. Most kids will take it and lose it. But this kid takes his money and puts it right into his bank account, into his piggy bank. And he doesn't want to spend it, man. And that's the type of things we want to install into our kids, because anybody can have a spending mentality. Anybody can spend money, right? It's an easy gesture to do. A hard gesture is learning how to save money, right? And so we're going to instill that as a foundational truth for Roman is, man, you got to save money because one day money's going to save you, right? And so, yeah, man, I'll say 4 or 5 years old is a great time to start. And always don't be shy to talk to. We're not shy talking to our kids about money. This is our goals, Roman. This is what we're looking at doing. Mom and dad are going to be saving money in 2024. We have a motto in our house now. 2024, we're spending no more. Right, we're saving money, man. We are stacking. Now that we're no longer having any kids, 3 is good for us. Now we just want to save money, save money, save money, so that we tell Roman, our oldest, the reason why we're saving money, man, so that we can travel, we can go see the world, we can go see monster truck shows, right? And don't you want to go see money? Yeah, I do, Daddy. So he's a big cheerleader of us saving money as well too, right? And we have a lot of parents out there that their kids are cheerleaders of spending their money rather than saving it, right? And so that takes a little bit of time, and patience to do, but it's well worth it. Well worth it.
And you're also instilling that forward thinking, right? That thinking into the future by them by saying, hey, we're doing this now for the trips, we're doing this now for the monster truck, we're doing this now to do this. Then when X happens, they can connect the dots and be like, oh, by us saving the money, we get to do the things later on down the road. So you inject forward thinking, but you also inject delayed gratification, which anybody that studies human behavior and success, it's delayed gratification is the number one key indicator for success in anything that you do in your life. So this is such a tangible way to teach your children that concept.
I mean, that's something that's never going to leave their side. I'm telling you, man, it's a foundational truth that's never ever going to, if you do it the right way. And are you consistent with it? Consistent with it.
Let's I'd love to maybe get some tactical advice here for the men out there. Obviously, a vast majority of our audience is men. They're probably not working in the financial industry, partnered with their wife. You guys, you and Bryn have a very unique thing. Obviously, it's kind of the family legacy that you guys are building there with your parents, kind of passing it down to you. So maybe their wife isn't on board with the finances for them. There's a guy out there that his wife maybe doesn't see things exactly the same way. This is going to be a tough question here, so just ride with me for a minute. There's a guy out there that's hearing this. He's like, hey, I got to start getting these things, in check. I got to start getting the things in order. 2024, spend no more type of thing. But wife is out there running cards up, Amazon delivery every single day, $7 Starbucks drinks, all this. How would you as a man approach your wife, approach your spouse, partner to begin to have these conversations to get them on board with you?
Yeah, I would have a weekly meeting, just a weekly hour meeting with just you and your spouse, and all you talk about are goals. Man, listen, we are looking at going on this trip. We're looking at buying this car, whatever the case may be. Every week get together and talk, and make sure that you start the meeting off saying, "Listen, this is for us. This isn't for us to get in the comment. We got to better our financial state together." Right? And do a fun what is it called? Once you accomplish the goal, have fun, right? So hey, our goal this week is to save, or this month to save $500. Once we save $500, let's take 100 of it and go out to dinner, right? Next month, let's do the same thing, right? But we're gonna step it up a little. We're gonna save $550, right? And then we're gonna take 100 of it and we're gonna go out, to dinner, right? And so have that mentality going in where say, once you accomplish a goal, go have fun. Accomplish a goal, go have fun. Because if not, you're always going to feel like, man, you're in a rat race. I'm trying to get there. And that's when you get frustrated with each other, because you guys haven't accomplished a goal, but yet you're going to have fun, right? And so you got to make sure that, hey, listen, the goal is we're going to go to this steakhouse or we're going to go to this vineyard, whatever the case may be, but we need to save this amount of money this month. So let's make it a fact. Do you really want that Starbucks? Do you really want this gas grill? Do you really want, because it's getting close. We're not going to achieve this goal, right? And no matter what, abiding by that, man. No risk, not no risk. It's once you accomplish the goal, go have the reward, right? And so Britt and I, we do weekly meetings, and we just talk about our goals, man. Listen, this quarter we're looking at traveling this place. This is where our snapshot is right now. This is how much we have saved. This is how much we have coming out. These are major expenses that are about to happen, right? And from there, we have a game plan, and every week we have we know exactly where we stand financially. I think the reason why people are behind on their finances is because they're not having a conversation with their spouse, their co-CEO, right? And when you have a conversation with your co-CEO, and you guys are both on the same mind frame and the same trajectory, nothing bad is going to happen. Now you're going to have tough conversations, Frank. You're going to have really tough, and that's healthy. That is healthy, right? Because if not, all that's going to be boiled inside of you, right? And next thing you know, you're just gonna be like, man, you know what? The heck with it. I'm done worrying about my finances. I'm done. And anytime you bring up finances, that it never works, right?
Marriage is now, out the door. I think, what is it? 50% of marriages point to financial, reasons as being one of the, I think it's finances, and then, pornography or adultery is kind of, rampant right up there. But, it's interesting, man, because not only is this going to improve the financial, well-being of the home and help you guys get these things in order. But speaking to, Tony DiLorenzo, he's a great relationship coach. We had him on the podcast here twice now. He talks about the 6 pillars of intimacy. So 6 ways in which to create intimacy with your partner, with your spouse. Obviously, physical intimacy, right? Sexual intimacy, recreational intimacy. So getting out there and having fun, going on these ski trips, playing pickleball together, doing fun, exercising things together. Then you have the spiritual intimacy. Like, are you guys seeking, closeness to God together? The one that kind of took me back, though, was he said financial intimacy. He's like, have regular conversations about the financial status of the home. Because like you said, for most people, that's the area that we just try to push away and say, you know what, like, we're not able to and it just stacks and stacks and stacks. And then before you know it, that becomes the bomb that makes everything explode. So it's going to improve the finances, going to help you guys get these things in order, but it's going to make the relationship stronger as well. You guys will grow closer together because now you're working on goals together. You're setting dreams together. You're coordinating plans together. Co-CEO, you're working on projects together. Like, that's what I believe as a single man, never been married, right? So I'm speaking here just theoretically, not from experience. But I believe that's what would make the marriage strong and have that foundation to stand on. Like, we can tackle and do any of this together.
Absolutely. It starts with the conversation. Starts with the conversation.
Yeah, this is all circling back to having a plan, to knowing what it is we're going to do. So we open it up here, looking at debt obviously is like just not ever going to be out of this. Once we kind of got the debt here under control, we're working on the snowball effect. We're tackling one after the other. Where do we go next? Like, we're talking here, big kind of picture. How do we make 2024? How do we win the money game in 2024 is what I want to talk about. So once we start tackling the debt, what's our next kind of pillar that we want to then tackle?
Frank, you got to protect your income. You got to protect your income with life insurance, right? And the reason I say that, and as soon as I say that, people are like, I don't want to talk about life insurance. I don't want to talk. It is the most important thing to have in your financial portfolio, right? Because if a husband relies on the wife's income and the wife passes away, now the husband has to try to survive off of one income, right? And now that everything you saved, for that vacation is out the window. Your emergency fund out the window. All those debts, they don't go away. They start stacking up, right? And so you got to have a plan to have the right amount of life insurance, term life insurance in place, right? And the reason, and let's just take it away now. The reason why people buy life insurance is the what if, right? The reason why we buy auto insurance is because, man, if we get in an accident, we want to make sure our car is taken care of. The reason why we buy health insurance is what if we get sick, hey, they'll pay our hospital bills, right? And the problem about life insurance that most people think is, man, I don't need it. I don't want to talk about death. I'll talk about it later. I'll get it later. But the problem is we don't know when the good Lord's going to take us, right? If we knew when we were going to die, I would recommend buying life insurance the day before, right? And if I knew exactly when we were going to get in an accident, I would buy auto insurance the day before, right? And so you buy it just in case. You get it just in case. And when you're buying life insurance, man, pay the least amount for it and get the max amount for it, right? So don't be going out there paying thousands of dollars on insurance when you can be getting that same coverage for a tenth of the price, right? And the way you figure out how much insurance you would need, Frank, is a simple method called DIME. 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 D on DIME stands for the debt. How much consumer debt you have, credit cards, loans, right? And you average that out, right? How much credit cards, how many car loans, you get all that amount of money and you figure the total out and okay, that's the number. Let's say it's 100,000, right? Now you go to I on DIME. I stands for income, and that should be 10 times your annual income, right? So if you make $50,000 a year, right? 50,000 times 10, $500,000, right? So you got to put 500,000 over there, right? M stands for mortgage. If you have a mortgage, how much do you owe on your house or houses, right? And you want to put that total on the side. Let's say it's, half a million as well too. Put that over there, right? And then E stands for education, right? 50,000 is the average cost to take a child to college nowadays, right? So 50,000 per child. So if you have two children, that's $100,000, right? And then you add it all up. So you have the debt. Let's say that's 100,000. You have your income, which is 500,000. The mortgage, another 500,000, and then your kids' education, which is 100,000. So that comes out to $1.2 million in coverage per person, right? And so most people would think, man, I only need half a million, I only need a quarter of a million, but they don't understand that they're severely underinsured, right? If something would happen to you or your spouse, yes, that's a huge blessing to have a quarter of a million, right? But at the end, when you have a quarter of a million and you need 1.2 million, that beautiful situation, that beautiful blessing. Now you're just man, you're holding on to it like a sacred, jewel. You don't want it to go anywhere, but you need it, right? So you always need to make sure that you become financially bulletproof, whereby if anything happens to the husband or anything happens to the wife, the family can live as if financially nothing has happened, right? Yes, we're gonna miss mom. Yes, we're gonna miss dad, right? We're going to be emotionally devastated, but financial devastation, we can avoid that. We can avoid that entirely, right? And so I would recommend you guys, man, put together a, DIME and figure out how much insurance you guys will need. And if you're like, man, I don't have that through work, man, get with a financial professional, get with somebody who has an insurance license and get with myself, right? And I can help you out as far as making sure that you are financially bulletproof with the correct amount of life insurance that you may need. Right? It's very important. It's the last life insurance is considered the last love letter that you send to your parent, your beneficiary. Right? Just imagine, right? Something happens to you, and the last thing that your family receives is a check for $1 million. Right? What a legacy that you've left them, right? What a beautiful last love letter that they've received. And life insurance, I'm telling you, it's a sensitive topic in this industry, but people need to understand that you got to protect your most valuable asset, which is yourself. It's crazy to think this, Frank. I always ask people, what is the most valuable asset you own? And 90% of the people I ask this to, they say their home. My home is the most valuable asset that I have, and not knowing that a home is just brick and mortar, right? It's just a house. The most valuable asset that you own is your asset, your life, because you can always make more money. You can always get better. You can always self-improve. You always can make ends meet just with your efforts. You are irreplaceable. So I got to make sure that if something happens to me, that my family is not in any financial devastation whatsoever, right? And so one of the things that you should look for in your policy is a living benefit as well too, right? It's called in our policies, we have something called a terminal illness rider. And we have something going on right now, man, with one of our good friends. His dad got diagnosed with cancer, and most health insurance companies, they don't cover cancer treatments. You would think that I got health insurance, I'm fine. This cancer treatments they're expensive, man. You're looking at quarter of a million to sometimes $500,000 a month, just in treatments alone, right? And so health insurance, they don't cover some of these treatments, and some of these treatments aren't specialized just for that particular cancer, right? And so this client of ours, he's flying his mom or flying his dad to Arizona to get treatments, over there at a cancer center. And within that policy that he has with us, they can take money out of it, right, of the face amount to pay for these expenses, right? Because most people, when they get diagnosed with cancer, they're in survival mode. Man, I don't want to go. I don't. So what can I do to get more money? Oh, let me sell my home. Let me cash out all my savings. Let me cash out this. Yes, they may survive, which is great. It's God, thank you, Jesus, right? But now they've taken all of their legacy that they work so hard for to make sure that they live, right? So, in order to avoid that, get yourself a policy that has a terminal illness rider to make sure that you are financially bulletproof.
Yeah, this is great, guys. The dime method: debt, income, 10x it. They get that number, your mortgage, the total owed on the house, right? Not the total value of the home, the total owed on the mortgage, and then your education, 50K, kind of using that as the barometer, times the however many children you have will give you the total of what you need. Now, in a coupled relationship, right? Wife and husband, would you do both hold policies on themselves? And if so, are they equal, both at that same number, or do the policies equate to the total that you need?
Great question. No, they're not the same amount. So let's say the wife makes 40,000, the husband makes 50,000. So it's going to be a little bit less of coverage for the wife than the husband.
Okay, so when determining it for a married couple, you're not using the shared income of the two to determine what one person would get. You're using the income that the individual makes. So, like the example, wife makes 40K, husband makes 50K. Husband's going to be a little bit higher based upon because everything else is going to line up. They're going to have the same debt. They're going to have the same mortgage. So the only factor that's going to change there in the dime method would be that I factor, would be the I. But you do recommend that both husband and wife do hold policies for themselves.
Exactly. Yep. I need to make sure that if something happens to my wife, even if she's a stay-at-home mom, right, that God forbid something happens to her, and this is going to help out a lot. There's some people that say, man, my wife stays at home, my husband stays at home. They don't provide an actual income, but they do. They really do. If you really think about it, staying at home, they have to take care of the kids. They got to take care of the house. They got to take care, of the things that we can't take care of because we're at work. And that you're typically saving around $3,000 to $5,000 at a minimum just for them staying at home. So if you're like, man, I don't know how to equate that into this, I don't know how to put that into this equation. Just say, if they're a stay-at-home mom, average between 3 to 5,000. Yep, a month. Yep, a month times 12 times 10.
Yeah, because you're looking at childcare, you're looking at schooling, you're looking at transportation, you're looking at food. Are you meal prepping? You got a personal chef, all these other things, man. So important, man. And shout out to the stay-at-home moms out there, because what you guys do is so important. And we need more of you guys. So men, level up, start making more income so you can bring your wife home so she can do the most important job for the children out there. You said something as you were kind of teeing that whole segment up there, though, is you were saying, the most important thing is insurance. And then you followed up term insurance. What does that mean? What is term insurance, and what makes that different than other types of life insurance?
So there are two types of life insurance out there. There's term insurance, and then there's something called whole life insurance. Now, looking at the outside in, most people say, well, I want to be insured for my whole life. I want to make sure from day zero to day end, I have insurance, right? Yes, that makes sense. That is something that I hear what you're saying. But if you look at the fine print on these whole life policies, it's not everything. Not everything that you want, man. Some of these policies, and there's savings attached to these whole life policies, right? So you have a savings attached to these whole life policies, which sounds good. So if I came up to you, Frank, and I said, Frank, do you want insurance without savings, or do you want insurance with savings? What do you think most people are going to say to that?
With savings.
With savings. Everybody says that. Everybody wants a bundle package, right? But what they don't tell you about these policies is that the savings account that you have, some of them they don't start growing until the third year, right? So the third year of you having this policy, now your money is going to start growing, and it's growing at a low interest rate. If you need some of that money, hey, you could take it, but you got to borrow it. Makes no sense. It's my money. Why do I got to borrow my own money? Right. And the biggest kicker, as some of these policies would say to you, man, if you pass away, Frank, yes, your family's going to get the amount of insurance, but we're going to keep the savings. Right. So we're buying two things, but only getting one. So if you're doing insurance shopping, right, there's going to be insurance with savings and insurance without savings. With savings, you're paying around 4 times the amount for the coverage. Without savings, you're paying a little bit, for a lot. And just take life insurance out the picture and say, okay, I want to get, car insurance. Is there savings attached to your car insurance? No. Is there savings attached to health insurance? No. Is there savings attached to homeowners insurance? No. So why in the heck do I got to get savings attached to my life insurance? Insurance is the what if factor. It's not an investment vehicle.
Got it. Yeah. So keep that separate. Guys, this is why I brought Eric on to have this sexy conversation about life insurance so that you guys can win the money game in 2024, because maybe some of you out there know these things. I mean, I've had multiple conversations with Eric. We're setting some things up. We've had him come speak to the men here. I'm still learning new things here today, man. So guys, I hope you're getting value out of this, because yeah, it's so important. Just keep it over there. And then savings becomes separate. So we got debt. We now got we got insurance. Now are we getting into our savings? Is that kind of the next thing that we should be looking at? And what's our approach there in terms of saving?
Pay yourself first is the number one thing. PYF, pay yourself first, right? That just means that whatever you make, before you pay the bills, before you pay anything, take a portion of that money and save it, for yourself. There's a strategy out there. It's called the 50-25-25 rule. Whatever you make, take 50% of it, and save it. Or excuse me, take 50% of it and live off of 50% of what you make. 25% of whatever you make, save that money, right? Save it wherever you want to save it, whether it be in the bank, a piggy bank, in the mutual fund, and whatever. Just save it, out of sight, out of mind. And then 25%, the other 25%, save that for taxes, right? Save that for tax if you're self-employed, right? Sometimes some of us, if we're W-2, that's the taxes are taken out of our checks. But if you're self-employed, make sure you live by that 50-20-20-25-25 rule, because the last thing you want to do is owe something to the IRS, man. They're gonna come get it. They're gonna come get it. Yep. So you got to pay yourself first, man, and figure out where you should save your money, where you have interest working for you instead of against you, right? You got to have interest, whether it be in a mutual fund, an annuity, a long-term savings account, somewhere that you have money that's working for you instead of against you.
Now, obviously, we're recording this, and it's late 2023. This episode is going to air early 2024. People kind of looking across the marketplace right now. Shit's volatile, right? What the hell is going on? Are we in a depression? Are we out of depression? Where are things happening? What's going to happen with this election thing kind of coming up? Like, where should people be thinking that? Where's and just your maybe a recommendation? Where's the best place in this year, right, 2024, to put some of our money for savings?
Yeah, I mean, I would get with your professional, your finance professional, and everybody's different. There are some people who are nearing retirement that maybe an annuity would be something good for you, right? A fixed annuity, something that provides guaranteed returns. For those that are young, that are risk adverse, you may be interested in a mutual fund. You may be interested in something that has a little bit more interest and a little bit more risky in nature. Obviously, do your research. Make sure you read the prospectuses on these vehicles. There are index funds out there that are averaging some good returns as well too. But you got to put money somewhere that has an interest on it, that has an interest rate on it that is growing for you as well. Some people might look at CDs in the bank. Again, those are guaranteed interest rates as well too. Money market accounts. What you don't want to do is take that money and put it underneath your mattress, right? You don't want to do that. You want to put it somewhere that interest is working for you, right? And research the rule of 72, where it states how compound interest works, so how your money can double in a certain amount of period, a certain amount of years, right? So that's some good stuff for you too, Frank.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. And for those of you guys that are out there that, we keep saying, get with your professional, get with your professional. I mean, obviously, I'm an advocate of having coaches, of having mentors, of having people in your life that are experts in every area of your life. Going back to the bodybuilding days, like I didn't compete as a bodybuilder without having nutrition coaches, without having training coaches. When I got into recovery, like obviously this is the work that I do, helping men improve their life. So for you guys that are out there, like I don't have a professional, we're going to give you an opportunity here at the end to obviously connect with Eric. We got some resources that we're going to be giving you guys here as well. So if you need a professional, Eric and his team are going to be right there to help you after hearing this episode. I want to make a slight kind of pivot here though a little bit, because we're talking a lot about the savings of our income, right? Managing the debt, getting the insurance that's going to kind of protect us, getting into the right savings vehicle for our long-term goals. Once again, guys, this all ties down to thinking into the future, having a clear plan of what your life is going to look like 10, 20, 30 years, depending on the age that you are right now. All of this is dictated by having that clear vision. But I think one of the quickest ways to win the money game is increasing your earning potential. Speak to the importance of increasing your earning potential in 2024 if you can.
Absolutely. That's number one, man. If you're looking at, again, like I said at the beginning, everything is going up, right? Price of everything is going up, but our salaries are staying the same. So in order to keep up, we got to learn how to get our money up, right? Figure that out. Figure where it be take on a part-time opportunity, whether it be, selling something, getting something, as a part-time gig or something that's going to increase your income is huge, man. It's huge. You got to learn the money game by gaining more money, right? If you're learning the money game and staying the same with your money, it's tough. The easiest way to get out of the rat race is by making more money, right? And so I would figure out ways, whether it be, whatever, selling stuff around the house, right? Doing finding a part-time opportunity out there. We're growing. We're looking for people as well too. So if you're looking at getting licensed and learning about this industry, we're always hiring. We're always growing as well too. So like Frank said, he's going to put my contact information down, how you can get a hold of myself and my team, so that you can learn this money game as well too, man. So we can grow together as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, guys. I mean, I would advocate taking a percentage of that money that you're paying yourself every month and invest in skills. For you young guys out there, invest in high income earning skills. Learn sales, learn high ticket closing sales, learn copywriting, learn video design, learn editing, learn website build, learn SEO. Become a master of AI technology and how you can then leverage that to help other businesses make opportunities. Guys, there's endless opportunities out there in the world right now to make money. You got to look for the opportunities. You got to be willing to put in the work. Yeah, it's great to have a savings plan in place. It's great, if I'm making 50K, I got it all kind of sorted out. But imagine if you were making 100K. Imagine if you're making 150K. Imagine if you're making $250,000. How different would your life be next year versus as it is here today, guys? So it's so important to continue to level up, especially for the guys that are young in the game right now. Begin to build these skill sets. Live well below your means. I was making well over six figures and I lived in a 600 square foot apartment for 2 years so that I could put things away, so that I could reinvest into the business, guys. So live below your means. You don't need the watches. You don't need the cars. You don't need the Air Jordans. Trust me, I went down that path in my 20s and it is nothing but an endless pit. So this is so valuable, man. Eric, I just appreciate you so much. And like I said, guys, we're going to give you some resources here at the end. I want to ask you a personal question, though, if you're okay with that. Obviously, I mentioned, I get to see you guys every Sunday here at church. For those of you guys who don't know, I did meet Eric through a men's church league softball team, and it's become a regular staple. I love seeing you guys every single Sunday. What is the relationship between your faith and your finances, Eric?
Yeah, man, it's they have to be intertwined. They have to be intertwined. If you're not faithful with your finances, you're not going to get the blessings that God has in store for you financially. I mean, if you focus on getting better with your finances, the Lord gives you a little bit more, gives you a little bit more, gives you a little bit more. And if you're a good person, right? If you're a good person, you usually obey what the Lord says, what it says biblically, right? In the Bible, it says, you to get out of debt, man, you're no longer a slave to the lender. Right. So that's number one. Another thing he also mentions in the Bible is to make sure you leave a legacy or an inheritance for your children's children. Right. And so the reason why we work today isn't for ourselves. Biblically, it tells us the reason why we work today is for our children's children. Right. So the minute that we start thinking about ourselves, the minute that I start thinking about myself and my tomorrow and how I can get better, right, I'm thinking so small in comparison to how God wants me to think. Right. And so the Bible and the faith and the finances, they have to be intertwined, man. You have to, when you sit down with your wife, or you sit down with your husband, have that conversation, man, of what does God want us to live like financially, right? And how, Lord, can we get closer to your works and how we can get closer to where you want us to be financially, and he will reveal it, man. He will reveal it to you if you stay patient, if you stay consistent with getting better with your faith, right? So in the Bible, it always talks. If you look, I think there's like 365 passages or times that it talks about money in the Bible, right? And I would highly recommend you guys read a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Uh, Phenomenal book on how to save your money, how to get better financially. It's a short read, but you got to have the both faith and finances intertwined, man. The more money you make, God wants you to be profitable. God wants you to be wealthy, because the wealth, if you're mentally wealthy and you're spiritually wealthy, and now you have economical wealth, you're gonna give to people. You're gonna give to your church. And when you give to your church, God's gonna bless you a little bit more. And then you can give a little bit more. They can receive a little bit more, right? So there's nothing wrong. There's a saying where it says, um, money is a root to all evil. That's not the same, right? People say that money is the love as a root to all evil. It doesn't say that. It says money, the love of money is the root to all evil, right? And I take it a step further, Frank. I always say the lack of money is the root to all evil, right? Because when you don't have money, you start thinking of illegal ways of making money. You start trying to rip people off. You start trying to, rob people. So the lack of money is a root of all evil, right? Not the money just gives us options.
Well, let's think about it, man. As believers, if we're called to be disciples, right? That's our number one mission here on earth is, to spread the gospel to the ends of the earth. Who's going to be a better spokesperson for God? The guy that is crushing it, the guy that is living in abundance and has financial security and is serving and is giving to others and has all the nice things, or the guy that is struggling and is living in this limited mindset and is drowning in debt. He's got this negative percent. Who's going to bring more people to God? The one that is winning and crushing it in life and in his finances, or the one that is struggling to get by? I believe that this message needs to be spread more through church. Obviously, that's not my job here to tell people what to do within their churches, but that's why we have these conversations here, guys. There's a ministry component to the work here at the Superhuman Life, and having a man of faith like Eric here, I want to at least address that part of the conversation. So I appreciate you that there as well. But before we wrap it up, man, is there anything I kind of left off of the conversation here today as we're talking about, winning the money game in 2024? We got the debt, tackling that first. We got getting the term life insurance, making sure income is protected, both parties within the home, using the dime method, debt, income, mortgage, education. Got that formula broken down there for you guys. Scroll here back. And for those of you that have been paying attention, Eric's answer there spoke to that universal principle that we've been talking about here this entire conversation, is having the plan, right? If we're thinking that what we're doing with our money and our finances is not for us today, it's not for our kids, but for our kids' kids, that forces us into that long-term thinking, that forces us into having that long-term vision for everything that we're doing. But before we wrap it up here, Eric, is there anything I haven't asked you that you think is important for the audience here today?
I think the first step that everybody needs to do before you start figuring out your debt, how much insurance you need, everything like that is, man, get with your spouse and do a budget. Man, learn how to do a budget, a weekly budget, have those budget meetings, right? And figure out, man, how much can we set aside initially for our savings? You don't have to start off with thousands of dollars. Just start off with $20 a week if that's possible. Even if it's $20 a month, just start saving somewhere, right? Start saving somewhere, but put that budget together where you can show yourself, all right, man, we're gonna save this amount of money. All right, we gotta make sure we have this amount of insurance, right? But be honest with you guys on the call, this isn't something that's gonna be easy, right? If it was easy, everybody would be financially independent, right? If it was easy, we call it, if it's easy, it's sleazy, right? If it's easy, it's sleazy. So if it's easy, everybody would be doing it. You just got to know that there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who have done this and are financially independent. So why not you, right? Why not you? Some people out there have done this when they had absolutely nothing, in their name. They started this process, and now they're financially independent, right? So if they can do it, why not you? It's going to take time. It's going to take discipline. But what else? What else is going to happen, right? You're going to, by chance, like Frank said, you're going to aim for the moon and fall in the stars. Right? You're going to have the most money you ever saved. You're going to have a plan to get out of debt. You're going to have everything in order to become financially bulletproof. That's the worst thing that's going to happen. The best thing that's going to happen is you're going to become financially independent. Frank, you're going to be able to, what we call SWAN, SWAN, sleep well at night. Right? We're able to sleep well at night, not worrying about finances, not worrying about that next check, not worrying about the next bill, right? Being able to be financially free is the best place to be, man. I'm telling you, right? So I appreciate you, Frank. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you too, brother, as well. We'll wrap it up here with the last question in a minute. We told you guys though at the beginning that we do have a resource, a tool for you guys. Not too long ago, Eric came and spoke to our men here of the Brotherhood Redefined community, and we recorded the training. And it was one of the best trainings on creating financial independence. We're talking about the 4 pillars to financial success. So, if you guys want access to this free training, visit thesuperhumanlifepodcast.com/4, the number 4 pillars. That's www.thesuperhumanlifepodcast.com/4 pillars. You enter an email and you guys will get free access to the 4 pillars for creating financial wealth and abundance in your life with the man, Eric Ortiz himself. And Eric, if people want to connect with you, maybe they have some questions. Maybe they're one of the guys out here or the audience listener that doesn't have this financial professional. Like, hey, man, I need to get a guy like Eric on my team. Obviously, go through the training. We'll have access to get in touch with you there as well. But somebody's wanted to reach out, somebody want to connect with you. What's the best place we should point them to, Eric?
I'm very active on social media. I'm very active on Instagram. It's E Ortiz 55, the number 55. Follow me there. Ask me questions. DM me there. I think in the Dropbox we'll have my email as well too. Have my information there too. But that's just another way of getting in contact. I also have great stuff on my Instagram talking about finance, talking about anything that has to do with the money game. So follow me on there as well too.
Incredible. Yeah, guys, we'll get all of Eric's contact. E Ortiz 55. We'll also have his email plugged down there in the show notes. If you're watching on video, it'll be down there in the description box. But access that free training, guys. It's going to walk you through these principles, obviously paired with the the DIME method, but learn the 4 pillars, guys. So the superhumanlifepodcast.com/4 pillars. Eric, as we drive today's conversation to a close, this is a question I like to end every single episode here with. Obviously, the title of the podcast is called The Superhuman Life. And for me, this has been a 4.5-year journey of me trying to figure out what it means to live a superhuman life. And I've landed on a pretty stellar definition myself. When I talk about living a superhuman life, for me, Eric, it's a belief system. It's a way I try to show up in the world and how I try to operate on a day-to-day basis. And it's coming from the place first that I do believe that we're put on this earth for a purpose. There's a calling. There's something that each and every single one of us is supposed to be doing. It's paired, obviously, to our unique gifts that God placed within us. But understanding and knowing that you're here for a purpose, you can't just stop there. You have to be very intentional about the development of those skills and then how you bring that purpose to the world in service of others. When you have that combination and you're living it out day in and day out, to me, that's living a superhuman life. But I love to get the guest take. So Mr. Eric Ortiz, as we bring today's conversation to a close, how would you define living a superhuman life?
I'll say, how do your kids look at you, man? If they will put a picture of their dad or their mom, and they put the qualities right there, what is their definition of a superhuman life, right? And is that dad and mom? Is that dad? Is that everything that you would define a superhuman life? Is it the same through their eyes as well too? Right? Because as you know, they watch you, right? They're watching you day in and day out. But what they watch, is it what you're saying? Is it the same thing that you're telling to yourself, telling to your salespeople, telling to your spouse? Because they'll give you their honest opinion. So the life that they describe as superhuman life, is it the way that you would want to be portrayed? And if the answer is no, man, now you have some work to do, man. Maybe you got to figure out what you're doing when nobody's watching. Where you might think nobody's watching, but they actually are. Maybe you need to focus in on getting better that way. And whatever their definition is, there you go. That's it.
Come on now, man. Wow. I've asked that question 230 times probably at this point. It's not that common that we get a rare, unique answer just that, man. And it shows, I think, the depth of you, the depth of your character, and what truly is the most important thing to you in this world, which is the legacy of the Ortiz family, man. So beautiful answer, man. Truly honored to know you, man. I want to recognize you and acknowledge you for your time here today. You dropped so much value and nuggets here for the audience, man. True man of character. And I think that's why, I mentioned this to you before, man, you are a man that I truly look at as a way that I want to be a father, man. So I appreciate everything you shared here with us today, man, but a beautiful way to end this conversation, Eric. I really appreciate where you took that answer, man. Guys, connect with Eric, E Ortiz 55 on IG. Check out the 4-pillar training at the superhumanlifepodcast.com/4 pillars. But make this year, 2024, the year that you finally win the money game. We love you guys. For Eric Ortiz, make sure to share this episode with as many people as possible. And guys, if you haven't done so yet, you haven't left us a review, what the hell are you doing? Stop consuming this podcast for free without giving back. It takes 5 seconds to leave us a review. And what it's going to enable us to do is bring more people like Eric on. When we have a top ranked show, which we've hit in the 100, guys, we've hit top 100 here in the States. But if we can get to the top 50, if we can get to the top 20, that gives me leverage now to bring on some of the most amazing people in the world, which is what I want to do for all the guys out there. So take a moment and leave us that rating and review. But for Eric Ortiz, your host, Coach Frank Rich here, we love you guys. And we'll see you next week.